Quality Forge is almost at an end, but the importance of the next topic will be key for businesses heading into 2026. So, on that, we would like to introduce our final panel and guest speakers of the day. The next panel promises to be especially interesting as it brings together experts from across industries and disciplines. Kicking things off, we'll be welcoming back a friendly face of David Ellison from Lenovo.
Joining David this time we have Ēvalds Urtāns. Ēvalds is the CEO of the technology company Asya, specializing in practical AI solutions, and he has extensive experience developing innovative AI-driven tech like pitch patterns and Aldogen. Additionally, Ēvalds holds a PhD in artificial intelligence and is a co-founder of Latvian Artificial Intelligence Association.
We will also be joined today by Andrei Danilov. Andrei is an engineering manager at RoomPriceGenie, where he manages reporting and value delivery pillars for global clients to help them increase their revenue. What this means is Andrei focuses on building customer-facing AI and data products. Outside of work, Andrei coordinates boot camps, writes blog posts, and of course, speaks at conferences.
And our final panelist is another one of our own talents, Alvao Laserna Lopez. Alvaro is the director of the R&D and test automation department at TestDevLab, where he spearheads our testing innovations like algorithms for audio-video quality assessment. In addition to leading TestDevLab's R&D efforts, Alvaro brings a unique perspective to his work as a physicist with a master's degree in space science.
With a panel of speakers that sit on the cutting edge of AI, we are in for a treat. So without further ado, our four experienced experts will join us now to discuss from hype to reality, making AI work in the real world. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. It's nice to see you again, David. It's nice to see you, Andrei, Alvaro, and Ēvalds. Thank you all for joining us today. I will jump straight into it and we'll talk about AI applied in those real world scenarios, and I will pull on all your experience. So the first question will be directed at David. How can AI be used in production planning? Maybe you can give us some insight into how AI can help and give us some examples.
Absolutely. That's a great question. Production planning is one of the areas where AI moves from, the hype to the reality very quickly. It's very easy to see where that value can be created. At its core, production planning is a massive optimization puzzle. You have to balance materials, machine availability, cost, complexity, your human workforce, all that into a fluctuating invoice or order book. For decades or since for a long time. It's been managed with spreadsheets and experience and gut feel. Just kind of, we have these invoices, we have these many worker hours, let's just put it together and estimate what it is. Results in a lot of downtime, a lot of missed deadlines. This is where AI really shines. AI isn't magic, but it's a powerful tool for processing pattern recognition engine. So I will give an example of one that I did with a small wiring harness company in Canada. The wire harnesses are like the wiring that goes inside an airplane or a car. They assemble the wiring harness and they send it off to the manufacturer. So their planning process was entirely manual, as is custom, as is normal in that customary in that space. When an invoice, a worker came in, a manager manually estimated how many man hours it would take, broken down by worker skill. As you can imagine, the pure guesswork was based on experience. It was almost always wrong, understaffed, overstaffed, a lot of wasted time. They had all the data they needed, but it was siloed into three distinct databases, one for orders, one for HR, one for payroll, one for final billing. They needed a low-cost solution that could make sense of the mess. First, we approached the data integration. We joined the databases, we made them talk to each other, all that fun stuff. Then we built a predictive model that figured out how long these jobs, looked at hundreds of past jobs and predicted how long these jobs would take by worker skill. And then we use that output to optimize scheduling and to make the most efficient scheduling process. The overall result of this was taking a planning process that took hours to do and make it into nearly instantaneous, just a dashboard that updates. More importantly, by scheduling the right people, the right jobs, eliminating that guesswork, we decreased the non-billable hours by 20%, which produced a savings of $2 million for the small wiring harness company of 50 people. So it was a real impact for that small business.
I'd say 2 million for a company of 50 people is that's not small change. That is a significant amount of money they've saved there.
Right.
That's incredible. And then moving on to Andrei as well, who gives a bit more insight into the SAS side of things.
Yes, Andrew, question to you. Machine learning and LLM-based web and SaaS features, maybe you have some insight into how AI can be applied there?
A very good question. Thank you. Well, AI brings value to SaaS when it reduces complexity for the user. For example, I think the best applications of AI are the ones where the users reaches whatever job they're trying to perform faster, no? And with less effort, when with fewer clicks or fewer decisions that they need to do, no? For example, at Typeform, we used AI to generate the first version of a form from basically a short description and some other details. So instead of starting from scratch, you start from a draft and you're feeling more productive. No, you can just edit, make small changes, and you are getting faster from time to value. No, traditional software also gives users, the raw data in a way and expects them to take a decision. Now, this is where I've seen AI can interpret data, can give you suggestions of different outcomes, like propose a certain action to be taken, or even take an action on your behalf, right? And this is, for example, at RoomPriceGenie, where I currently work, AI helps hotels adjust pricing automatically when there is a change in demand. For example, you have a concert in your city, or there's a big sports event, etc. You want to be leveraging that information to make the best out of that price, right? And also, AI can automate these operational decisions. For example, at Glovo, computer vision models could determine if a package and a delivery that you asked for, it's coming damaged. So in the end, it's analyzing a photo and possibly, if it has a high confidence, automatically issues a refund for the customer. No, this if there's a high confidence there. No, so the user receives a resolution in seconds. They are not waiting for a couple of days on that. They can buy another meal. They are more productive, and at the same time, internally, they are more productive. And this is where I want to make also my last point. No, these are customer-facing features, but another interesting take is the internal usage within the SaaS companies of AI. For example, I've noticed product or strategy teams pull up together from different places data for such as sales calls that are videos or multiple channels. Customer support tickets, any feedback that you might get, like in NPS service, to identify patterns that they could maybe link to missing features or a business impact and strategy. In this way, you automatize the operational side and administrative side of things, so you can just do the thinking and let a tool connect the dots for you. As you can see, in all of these cases, AI becomes useful when it solves a real problem for the users and also makes the life easier for them for a particular job.
Thank you. I appreciate how you also made sure to include lots of examples there that our audience can really understand. It is solving problems and some examples that really help get that message across. But AI is not just limited to being used in business SES or in production. It can also have a massive role in the world of robotics. So I would like to pose, I guess, the first question, and I'll pose this to both our robotics experts with us today, to Ēvalds. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about how AI can be used in robotics.
Yeah, I do have another robot dog company where we are building the robot dog application for construction business for detecting the deviations from the BIM models and changing the way how industry works. But I think that's a little bit more outliner. Like if you look at mostly where the robotics are in industry, they're still in many cases in some kind of quality control or some production line automation, and just I think we're early days, very early days. AI is even, I would argue, quite early days. And I think before we will see fully intelligent robotic platforms, we'll see this step, what you can Google up, this Neo robot from Norway, for example, where they do have telepresence robots, where you can change the way how the workforce works. Like you can have maid in your home, which is telepresence from India or some other place, and the robotic platform can do all these things, and then it becomes the situation how much data you can gather. The more data you would gather with these telepresence platforms or some intermediate robotic platforms still fully autonomous, those will be the winners. So if somebody interested in that field, as always, you need to gather data and start to find some EU funding or some other way how to operate. And regarding the robotics, I believe Alvaro, maybe you can tell about your robotic farms for clicking the phones or something of that sort, right?
Yes, yes, right on point. So at the moment, at least from TestDevLab side, we focused on testing. Lately, what we are trying to do is automate mobile devices or any other type of platform that has software by utilizing the physical controls. The latest project that we're working and the hardware part of the R&D department is working on is refurbishing 3D printers in order to do these type of automations. So we are developing this software, which by the end will be an open source software. And you can connect it to the computer, and then together with some computer vision frameworks that we have already released at TestDevLab, it all plays together in order to automate mobile devices in this case, but it can be applied later on for other hardware and devices. So, and if you then later on put it together with agentic AI models, then you can do full pipelines where the decision making is actually orchestrated by these agents. So it, as you said, is very early on. There is a lot of opportunities. I think from the testing side, it's a new world that will unravel, but that doesn't mean that the effort from actual engineers will decrease. I think it actually will skyrocket just to be able to test these new technologies or improve the existing ones.
I like that. That was a good answer about how even now, as Ēvalds said, AI is still growing and you are still part of that experimental process, and you're also pushing and seeing what you can do with it. And that's a really big part of what's helping AI move forward. Yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
it sounds very
definitely.
exciting. But moving on from the robotics of AI and robotics to the AI agents, I have a question to David to overall kickstart this conversation about AI agents. Maybe you can set up the scene by telling us a bit more about what it is the future of agentic AI looks like. Maybe you have some examples for us.
Absolutely. This is one of the more exciting areas of AI right now. Everybody's talking about it. To set the scene, let's think about, how most of us use AI today. It's a reactive tool. You ask a question and it gives an answer. You give a command, it performs one action. Agentic AI is the future because it shifts from a reactive tool to an autonomous coworker. So yeah, you take it, you've taken it from something that just does exactly what you said to something that can solve and do solutioning. You give it a goal and it figures out how to, it autonomously plans the steps and the execution of those steps and reflects on the results. A simple example, like a chatbot example, is today you might ask AI, summarize my last 5 emails from client X. Again, you gave it an action, it did exactly what you told it to do. An agentic example would be like, monitor my inbox for urgent emails from client X. If one arrives, summarize it, check my calendar for free time, check the project database for latest status updates, and then autonomously draft a response with a summary, the status, and my next 3 availability. So that's an agentic, solution for it. You're planning, you're reasoning, you're using multiple tools, to achieve your goal. However, this is where kind of reality sets in. This level of autonomy is incredibly powerful, but it's also, there's a massive technical bottleneck, which is called token explosion. Token explosion, there's just like so many tokens needed to run these agentic AI solutions. Tokens are just pieces of data. They're like words, numbers that AI has to process. It has to remember everything. The agent has to remember it has an original goal, its own plan, every action it took, the results of those actions, every piece of information it gathered. This memory or context, as we call it, it gets incredibly large very, very fast. And so, with the clients experiment with this, the model's slow to a crawl and become prohibitively expensive because the GPU is spending all its time holding this massive memory. So we've implemented some solutions for this. We're adding to our agentic capabilities, building out end user use cases. One we're implementing techniques like KV caching. Uh, you know this 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 is a balancing technique to speed up inference in exchange for a little bit extra memory. So way large language models work is every time it produces a no token, it's like writing an essay, and then every time you need to produce another word, you have to rewrite the entire essay again. So you start writing the essay, you add another word, you rewrite it all again, and you add a word, and then you rewrite it all again and add a word. Very inefficient. KV caching takes that, so you don't have to rewrite the essay every time. You can just copy and paste what you have already, add a word. Copy and paste what you have already, add a word. So that's KV caching. We're developing that, to move the agent's memory from super fast GPU VRAM to DRAM or even SSDs. So we're able to move that memory around. The other thing we're doing is graph RAG. Instead of giving the agents the entire memory as one giant messy text file, graph RAG organizes its knowledge into a mind map, something that it can follow. It can look at related information very quickly, so it can intelligently navigate the map, pull only the relevant pieces of information it needs. These are we're developing systems that can be autonomous in scheduling, in employee productivity, in customer chatbot looking up solutions and giving solutions and then summarizing the solution for the agent, or doing solving the problem for the user in real time. Put agents on the edge device. If you have a problem with the edge, call the agent. It solves the problem for you. So these are the tools that we're working and building at Lenovo. Obviously, we're a little bit more hardware focused, but solving problems in real time at the edge.
That was a beautiful answer, and I really appreciate that you took the time to include what you're working at Lenovo to help illustrate your point. And I know it was good because Alvaro, our head of R&D, was nodding along with you as you were mentioning everything. So you did a fantastic job. But I will stick with Alvaro because agentic AI is also, or AI agents, I should say, has made its way into the software testing community. And there's been a lot of talk about how AI is changing how testers work. So maybe you can tell us a bit more about that is happening and how AI agents can be used in test automation.
Yeah, I really like what David was talking about, mostly because all the work that he's doing, then later on I can apply to these agentic capabilities so that they go faster, cheaper, and it can be reused for many purposes. So it is incredible to know that a lot of people are working together to make this technology grow in the direction that we want it. And for test automation, well, of course, it's something that is currently being used, but at first, it's the typical use of code generation, reviewing your test automation with agentic capabilities by reviewing the test repositories. That is kind of like the first to go way to utilize this agentic AI. But it's not only there. It's not only just reviewing the code and helping you create these automation frameworks, but now with these tools, we can create agents that can automate themselves, meaning that the tools, they don't have to be just writing code or reading code. They can be going to a web page, clicking, sending text, validating that there are fields that should be there. So you can create a set of tools for the large language model, for these AI technologies, in order to do testing. One of the things that I like to do when testing is that don't overuse the AI generation part, because the problem is that if you are all the time using AI generated tests, then the reproducibility might fall down. Like this works very well maybe for exploratory or creation, but if you want to repeat tests and assert whether those tests run as you intended from the beginning in the future, then my recommended approach, or at least the approach that we are following at TestDevLab, is to create the test with these agent tools and then reproduce all those tools in like a sequence for test automation. That way we can test the same thing repeatedly all the time and check whether it will fail in the future. And if it fails, then we can use AI to check, okay, can you repeat the test and tell me why it failed? So yeah, that's what currently we are doing, and we have this very exciting project within TestDevLab, Barco Agent, which is mainly focused on test automation, and that is so far the approach that we're following, and we hope it will be a success.
Fantastic answer. That was very good. And it's good to hear you're very good at communicating what we do with TestDevLab.
I mean, self-promotion is good promotion as well.
Marketing.
And Barco Agent is indeed a very exciting project following it within the TestDevLab. But I think the conversation about the AI can't be continued without talking about the compliance and data quality. So, Ēvalds, I actually have a question to you. Many organizations are using AI solutions for automating their contact centers in enterprises like telecommunication companies, banks, and medical and government institutions. These add some serious complexity when it comes to stuff like GDPR and AI Act. Can you tell us a bit more about what concerns and risks are and how business can take steps to be prepared for this?
Yeah, we do work with many international organizations in Europe, like banks, telcos, medical, and especially like automating contact centers with robocalls, with quality control, with automatic systems for managing the data. And the GDPR is clear. I think that's been already for at least 5+ years. Didn't check it, but so the data protection specialists are in all of these enterprise companies, and they do have the documents ready. And we, of course, also have ready, and everyone working in this field, this is no problem. The new kid in the block is EU AI Act, which is really overshooting the necessity. Basically, it is, and I will give you some hints what you can do now, but the more you study it and the way how it was created and how it is maintained, the more you understand that this is wrong direction for Europe. But at least like companies and scientists and people who understand how these systems work right now actively try to educate the bureaucracy in Brussels But so this is not something new. Somebody might not know this, but in 1800s, Europe was the only place in the world where basically they decided that when automobile or car was invented, that somebody needs to go in front of car with red flag, and this was like for 30 years like an actual law. That if you own a car, somebody needs to go in front of the car with red flag. So the idea was that basically it's dangerous, right? But in the other side, in Americans, they didn't have any of such dumb things, and they expanded rapidly in this field. So this is very similar right now. And what you can do right now is there is exactly currently available something called EU AI Act Compliance Checker, which is a self-assessment tool that the EU Commission just released. If you do have AI products that you sell, this is number one thing you need to go to there and fill the form, and then you can show the results to the partners and say that you're compliant, at least hopefully. And the other thing is you definitely need to somehow be active in associations or some organizations in your countries around Europe, specifically so that we can work together and help these politicians to understand things. Because, for example, right now they are creating the omnibus bill, which will be like exemptions from prohibited and high-risk use cases. It means that many of these high-risk like requirements, which include anything that makes money, basically employment, the education, the public services, everything is high risk, and nobody actually can tell me exactly where the risk is in many cases. So, and actually then they're now creating many exemptions. So it will say that like a Swiss cheese, you can do that, you can do that, you can do that regardless of that. So my encouragement is join forces and please reach out to me with our Eastern European AI associations. We can work together and let's try to make that the future is good for Europe as well, not only for other regions. Like if you look at the Emirates, right, or Americans, they have completely different direction on this. So we should work on this. Yeah.
Thank you. And I appreciate you also provided some resources. And I did just want to double check something with you. This act you're talking about, it doesn't just apply to companies that are European, it applies to companies that operate in Europe as well,
Yes,
doesn't it?
you're
And
right.
with European
That's why you can check the effects. Like Gemini has this amazing tool for where you don't need Photoshop anymore. You can edit faces and stuff, right? But you only can do this with VPN to America. The European version of this Gemini photo editor is super cut. So unfortunately.
But still, thank you again for the resources. And again, we probably have a mostly European audience today, but for any Americans who will be watching this, if you do plan to expand and operate in Europe, or you do end up handling European data, this is also something that concerns you guys, and you can reach out to Ēvalds for support with that. We do have another question. I'm going to bring back Andrei. AI, as we were talking about, needs a lot of data to train and use. With all this data, especially with the personal users' data that there is quite oftenly used in these situations, questions always arise about data quality, maintaining good data quality, and GDPR and privacy protection rules. So from your experience, how have you seen organizations maintain that high quality of data whilst also taking GDPR and regulations into account?
I heard both of my colleagues here speaking about exciting stuff, and I see Ēvalds, we are responding on the boring stuff, and boring in a way, is that engineers would like to work without these restrictions in general, and this is where I fully agree with Ēvalds, and I will bring another perspective from a guy that tries to land projects using these constraints that still exist nowadays, unfortunately. So I think working nowadays, especially in the European market, on AI project, you need to work outside engineering with legal, compliance, security department from the beginning. If you involve this group late, you will be actually having a conversation about reviewing and rejecting rather than something that is collaborative, no, and you can find your way through with a solution that you can bring into users, no. Well, avoiding usage of any personal data entirely, it's not always the correct answer. So I have seen teams going and trying to adapt, to avoid basically going through the GDPR or the AI Act entirely, no, and let's build features that don't use any personal data, so we don't have troubles with it, and we are building safe. This results often into a feature that technically works in like lab environments, but out there is not something that, you know, users are happy to use in like production or real life, no? And they don't create real value, no? What I think matters here is trying to find the way in the current regulations to make safe use of this personal data so they actually can personalize the experience for the users in a way, no? There are very regulated areas, for example, like biometrics and fraud detection space, where the rules are strict. Like you cannot choose what you can do in that space. For example, models needs to be explainable, process require a lot of fallbacks. For example, human in the loop. There needs to be auditability and traceability for certain things. These are not optional stuff, right? And these things encourage actually a different system design that ultimately support more transparency and trust from the user's perspective. No, there are also certain regulations that prevent training AI directly on sensitive data, such as biometric data, no, like RAW1. But there's always ways to avoid doing that. No, there's techniques such as, for example, synthetic data sets, anonymized or aggregated feature, federated learning, no, that allow models to still improve, still learn from users, but without having access to that core, you know, facial raw biometrics, right? And the goal here, generally, like with this, is if you are going for the delivery side, is not go around these constraints. Try to understand them. There is always some solutions we can build around them. Hopefully, Europe would gain some speed in this. We have some way to catch up for our, you know, US market, but also looking very closely towards the Asian market, which also operates at a different speed. Hopefully, you know, the actions that you know, is being done at, let's say, leadership level of these companies within, you know, a different association can help slow down some of this regulation, but also with the current things that we are doing, maybe we can raise the bar in the AI features that we are actually bringing here.
A fantastic answer. And there will be fun questions later. It's not all completely about regulation and compliance. I did notice Ēvalds was nodding along. Are you echoing the same comments as Andrei? Is there anything you'd like to add to that, or is it?
Yeah, like it's as Andrei said, like try building a AI system that is no high risk system, right? You will end up with something that nobody needs, basically. So it is quite absurd situation right now. I think, and mostly again to echo it, is that the politicians has been scared. They don't understand things. They rely on faulty data, and we need to help them to understand and like so not to shoot ourselves in leg. Yeah.
We'll just go on a small side thing, just to sate my own curiosity here. Does that, are you talking, are there specific limitations that come maybe with training on synthetic data that you just don't get when you use real world data? Or is it much like Andrei and Ēvalds said, testing stuff in lab conditions is very different to the real world, and maybe that's something you can't quite get with synthetic data. But that can be to anyone on the panel or specifically to Ēvalds and Andrei.
Synthetic data is one way to go, but it doesn't get you till the whole way. You can see also that for example, the Tesla self-driving features, that they built an excellent road model, and everything that they train is on synthetic data, and their models are like level 5 autonomy for sure. from the latest tests in America. And so it's doable, but you need a huge amount of data to build models that can produce high quality synthetic data. And we're talking about the personal data. We need to first access it. So it is not that easy.
Wonderful. Thank you for
Yep.
clarifying that. Oh,
I would also say that we also have tried to use synthetic data for audio and video quality algorithms. And the problem is that it works well with the data, with that specific data, even if you separate with training and validation, it predicts. But then you go to live data for video calls, for camera, like actual pictures, and you see that it doesn't really work because the amount of combinations and also different types of quality degradations that an image can portray are so huge that the synthetic adding, like, resolution, granularity, blockiness, and that doesn't really cover it. And then you really need a lot of live actual data and that's only like objective kind of evaluations. If you go to subjective, different publics, different opinions about things, then the problem just becomes much, much bigger than what you would imagine at the beginning.
fantastic. That was great. I love that additional input there. I am going to bring it back to David very quickly. And this is very much what you covered earlier in the day, but I do want to bring it into this discussion just because it was very interesting and does help give some key takeaways to the panel for audiences. We've talked a lot about how it can be used, that is AI, the regulations, how you can train it, what restrictions there might be. But many organizations are really investing in AI and trying to integrate it into their product. So how can businesses determine those core KPIs to measure success and return on investment? How are they going to get that organizational buy-in and prove that need for investment? This is very much covering what you mentioned earlier, but I guess somewhat succinctly, just to add it to the panel, I'd like to pose that to you as well.
Absolutely. Happy to answer the question. I'm at Lenovo, I talk about AI that generates ROI. I'm all about AI, not for the sake of technology, but for the sake of, how it can deliver that value. And AI, ROI for AI doesn't have to be some sort of dark art. There are ways of doing this. I find it helps to break it down into like 3 distinct buckets. First bucket is efficiency metrics. This is the most common, easiest place to start. This is your classic cost-saving KPIs, like reduction in man hours for a specific task or decreased operational downtime, like in the planning example that I gave. Increased ticket deflection rate in call center, increased tickets that don't go to the call center, faster production time for claims or invoices. These are fantastic for easy wins and are highly measurable. The next bucket is effectiveness metrics. This is where AI gets a little more strategic. These KPIs help AI measure like what you do for your core business, like what you are doing in your core business. So that's like increased sales conversion rates with new, AI-powered recommendation engines like Amazon uses and like Netflix uses. Improved customer satisfaction scores, because your AI tools providing better, faster, more accurate answers than somebody bouncing around a call center. Reduced customer churn, because the model was able to predict a flag at-risk customers and you're able to hit them with new offers or make adjustments to their account before they left. The final bucket is innovation metrics. These are the most advanced. These KPIs measure the ability of AI to unlock like entirely new capabilities or revenue streams. Like accelerated time to market for new product, like using AI and R&D to develop new products. We're kind of doing this at Lenovo, using AI to help design motherboards and server systems that normally take millions of dollars and 2 years to produce, but we can do it much faster using AI. Creation of a new AI-powered feature that becomes a key product differentiator. Again, this is a little bit harder to quantify, but product feature that just like really drives it. Netflix did this with their recommendations. They were one of the earliest ones to get into watching recommendations. That became a real differentiator for their product. And then, of course, monetization of new data products that were previously impossible to create. So those are the three buckets that I usually like to look at for how to generate that ROI out of AI projects. Now, the second part of your question was how to get organizational buy-in to get started. At least that's what I remember you asking.
It was.
Okay. This is where, a lot of teams fail. They lead with the technology. They go to their boss and say, we need $5 million to implement this AI platform. That is abstract and scary and not tied to the results. We need to stop talking about AI and start talking about the business problem. First you got to find the pain. Go to the line of business leader, not the guy in IT, the line of business leader, and finance, operations, sales, and like what is the most like manual, repetitive, or error-prone process that your team deals with? What keeps you up at night? Get at a core business problem. And then frame AI as a solution, not as an end in of itself. You don't even have to call it AI. Call it process automation tool or a predictive scheduler. You frame your proposal as a direct surgical solution to the business problem, not an introduction of a new technology. And then start small, improve big. You don't need a multi-million-dollar budget to start with. You can grow into that, and that's how you grow. But you ask for a 90-day low-cost POC. Tackle one problem, take an easy problem, attack it, prove that ROI. Use the efficiency metrics from bucket one that I talked about earlier. Those easy to prove ones. Show that quick win. And then when you go back in 90 days, the manual task that took 200 hours now takes 2 minutes. You've done it, you've proved the ROI. That gives you credibility and the ability to scale what the ask is. They know how much value the AI can create, so they can scale how much you're asking for. Well, if I save 200 hours with my 90-day POC, I can save 10,000 hours with a full-scale deployment. So that's really key to the buy-in. So you look at your metrics, look at the KPIs, like I talked about, those three buckets of KPIs, and then for getting buy-in, start small, lead with the business problem, smart small, solve the problem, and move bigger from there.
Fantastic. Perfect. I love that. That was succinctly somehow every key point from your previous talk. Just then. Incredible.
Yes, and I think I really like this approach of looking at the AI more like a tool rather than, like the end destination, which can help you to achieve whatever goals you're having. But I would like to add up on this conversation about measuring the success of the AI in the organization. And I actually have a question to Andrei. Andrei, experimenting with AI is an important part of finding its best use cases. So the audience has some real world takeaways. Maybe you could tell us a bit more about managing expectations, maybe lessons from some failed projects and R&D process challenges.
Yes, absolutely. What I'll say also goes very much in line with what David just mentioned. And I'm very happy to see this kind of thinking goes both in the enterprise space, but also in the startup scale-up world, right? And I'm trying to bring some clarity on this topic from the lenses of two examples of failures that I've experienced while delivering AI solutions. So one of it is, and the most important lesson I think that I have learned on is that AI projects fail when we focus on the technology too early, I once, for example, started managing a team that was in the middle of building a feature that analyzed data and it surfaced correlations between different data points. This sounded super nice. The users have mentioned that they want to be having correlations in the software. We completed the project and nobody used it. After speaking with customers again, it turns out that what they actually needed was a very simple solution that they could explore data manually, and they could pivot fields or explore some different dimensions, and that's it. The AI element was completely unnecessary at that point. No. On top of that, what we've done, and this is the second lesson, we optimized the system too early. No. We made some architectural decisions on that side, and tool choices as well, to save cost, but also to optimize for performance, so the model is faster, before validating the real need. So the time spent there, few months later, it was irrelevant because newer and cheaper AI models were out there that made whatever optimization of cost and performance that we've made irrelevant, because the cost and the performance, the cost slashed with 10x and the performance around the same side as well. No. And the main insight here for me is that you really have to validate that the problem you are trying to work on is worth building or fixing, right? And the first right step is exploring the solution. I've seen these days these humanoid robots that are at home, that you can buy, but actually they are controlled remotely by some people. These are validating, you can bring a lot of criticism. This is not AI, but what they are doing there is they are validating the market. No, is there actually a need for this? Would people buy a tool in this form? And I think this is the cheapest version of offering that. And it's both annoying to see, but interesting to see as well from a go-to-market perspective. No, you are not investing a lot, but if there's demand, well, let's explore that market. No, this is my take on it.
That's fantastic. And we do have one last fun question, but we are short on time. So in a couple sentences, starting sort of the way we started this panel with David, then Andrei, then Ēvalds and Alvaro, very quickly and in a couple sentences, what excites you most about the future of AI, starting with David?
Absolutely. I've alluded to this in a previous answer, but to keep it brief, I'm excited about embedded AI. AI, when you don't think about it being AI anymore. For right now, for years, AI has been something we talk about as a distinct capability, a model you call, an API you evoke. But we want it to be embedded in your emails, embedded in your smartphone. It just performs tasks. You don't care how it performs tasks. And that's when AI becomes powerful. And that's combined with the agentic AI shift out there, where you can give it a task and it'll accomplish that task for you. So the combination of embedded AI and agentic AI, I think is where the future is. AI, is the future, but it won't look like AI. The future of AI is when we stop calling it AI, because it's simply how everything just works.
Perfect. Thank you. And then Andrei, what are you excited for?
I was excited, still excited, and will be excited about the democratization and ease of working with large and unstructured information and making quick sense out of all of those things. It really empowers a lot of decisions, and also at a personal level, a lot of making sense of a lot of information in a smart way. I'm also excited about the times. This goes in lines with what David is saying, when AI will become a boring technology. Is that not something that excites us anymore? It's part of our daily lives in so many things, and it's just oh yeah, for sure it uses AI behind it, because we couldn't achieve it maybe in another way. So it's so easy and it's really everywhere that it's like a transistor nowadays. For sure, anything that we're building has one.
Perfect. And then some extra notes from Ēvalds and then Alvaro quickly.
Yeah, for those who have missed maybe previous opportunities, like with social networks, smartphones, internet maybe, there's a quote from Social Network movie: "This is a once in a generation holy shit opportunity, and the water under the Golden Gate Bridge is freezing cold." So basically, you see this, the Swedish company Lovable, 100 million annual revenue in 6 months. So I mean, there is endless opportunities. Who was ever thought that like Perplexity can actually compete with Google or something. So I think like we cannot just miss this opportunity. Otherwise, like we'll be regretting it. Yeah.
And then Alvaro?
Yeah, so it's two points. So one of them, of course, is about there are so many possibilities that it's just so exciting to be now and looking how this emerge. So that's one of the parts. The other one is more on the technology side, and is I'm looking forward to see large language models or AI to be more robust in terms that it can actually learn in the sense of the model actually changing over time rather than just having a model with memory and context. So that's, I mean, I think the model to be able to adapt to the inputs and just learn and keep improving by itself, it's something that I think it will be a very interesting thing to explore in the future. And I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Fantastic. That is all we have time for. But you've all been fantastic panelists. It's been great to have you all here today. Thank you for all your insights, for explaining how companies can use AI, what they should be aware of, GDPR and data, getting that buy-in. It's all been fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a privilege to host you all, and you are the final speakers of the day. So thank you for having the last words. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you.